Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Hubbs. I'm the Executive Director of the New Art Dealers Alliance. And I just wanted to say how excited we are and thankful that Helen invited us to be part of the Upstate Art Weekend. We're really looking forward. Some of us are going to be up there on the 29th and the 30th, checking things out. So, and we're also just really happy for and thankful for Helen putting together this talk with these amazing women who are all doing incredible things in the region. So yeah, happy to hear from you guys.
Thanks, Heather. I was going to say the same. Thank you so much to you and to Nada for hosting this and putting this together. You have so many epic members, and we're excited that some of them are part of Upstate Art Weekend. And we're going to hear from Kelsey at Art Oh My. We're going to hear from Jayne at JDJ, and we're going to hear from Candice from the River Valley Arts Collective. And they're going to tell you a little bit more about the exhibitions that they've got going on during Upstate Art Weekend, which is happening, like Heather said, the last weekend in August, and there'll be live updates and local favorites if you follow our Instagram at Upstate Art Weekend. So a little bit about me. Hi, for those of you who don't know, my name is Helen Toomer. I am the founder of Stoneleaf Retreat, and also I feel like mother to a million crickets right now that you can hear in the background. Stoneleaf Retreat is an artist residency program and connective space in the Catskills that is focused on supporting women and families. And we are organizing the first ever Upstate Art Weekend that has 23 organizations in the Hudson Valley. And the reason why we really wanted to start it this year is to really highlight the wonderful creative community that there is here, safely, of course, masked and socially distanced. So I very, very much hope that you can join us. So right now, I'm going to hand it over to Kelsey at Art Oh My, who is going to tell us a little bit about what they've got going on. And Kelsey, I should say, we went to Art Oh My and ran around the sculpture and architecture park a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing. Like Harry got to run around and see all the new sculptures and installations. So, so we love it. So over to you.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's so fantastic. Thank you, Helen, and thank you, everyone. I'm going to start sharing now. We at Art Oh My are just so thankful to be part of Upstate Art Weekend. Again, my name is Kelsey. I'm the Curatorial Assistant here at Art Oh My, which is sort of in the background of me right now. I'm broadcasting from the Benenson Center. We are a 120-acre sculpture and architecture park in Ghent, New York, in Columbia County. Our programming includes a rich international artist residency program with these really robust indoor and outdoor installations. They're open every day of the year, free of charge. And for Upstate Art Weekend and every other weekend, we welcome you to visit the grounds and explore not only art, but nature as well. So this year, we were really fortunate enough to be in this position where our park has remained open. As Helen said, we were really able to provide this safe, open space for neighbors and visitors from throughout the region. We've installed about 10 new works outdoors in both art and architecture, which I'll provide some highlights of here. But to start, I'd like to begin with the gallery. We were able to install this really excellent exhibition of Howardina Pindell work just a few weeks ago now. Her work spans over the course of 4 decades and is so personal, political, and process-based. So until November, you'll be able to come in and view 2 collections from her video drawing series and her seminal video from 1980 called Free, White, and 21. The video drawing series consists of photographs that the artist took of her own television set, playing either sports, variety television, or newsreel, with abstract vectors and words written on acetate, which was then laid over the screen. In Free, White, and 21, which you can see straight through this shot, the artist herself is portraying 2 different characters, and she's confronting the viewer. As herself, she recalls her experience as a Black woman in America, and the other, a white woman, dismisses her experience as paranoia, as she's never experienced that herself. After all, she is, as the title states, free, white, and 21. So the Benenson Visitor Center is currently open from 10 to 5 every day and only for exhibition access. So we ask that either you make a reservation online or we welcome walk-ins to view the gallery. So moving outside to the first of our new installations that came in March, this is an interactive work by Argentinian artist Agustina Woodgate. The source 1 through 4 is a series of functional water fountains made from Miami stone and oolite, in which the artist is thinking of the politics of water accessibility. Here we have 2 installations, one here and then one coming up on the next slide from American artist Will Ryman as well. The first of which, Pac Lab, welcomes visitors into this Pac-Man inspired labyrinth composed of nearly 50 individual cast resin blocks. The primary colors and maze structure are reminiscent of both Mondrian and the retro video game, of course. And you can see our curator and her daughter walking through. The next is another Ryman, Will Ryman Sisyphus, which is a 16-foot tall, unique sculpture in bronze titled after the myth of Sisyphus. Now, Bianca Beck's 14-foot tall Untitled was also installed this summer and was created specifically for Art Omai as the artist's first foray into outdoor sculpture. The work's exuberant stance, as you can see here, and color, they really provide this sense of wonder, and its location in our pond woods, which you can see surrounding it, provide respite for visitors from the sun. So it's this really wonderful little bit here. So New York and Hudson Valley based artist Dan Colin has provided us with even more color and whimsy, which you can see is this thread throughout these pieces. He's provided us with these 4 large-scale M&Ms. They're boulders that are painted in these classic red, orange, yellow, and brown, and they appear as the iconic chocolate candy. You can see that M right there under the sun. Now, the last in sculpture is artist and activist Chemi Rosado Sejo, who created the Mohican Pearl Hole, or the Mohican Bowl, that can be utilized safely, as you can see here, by a professional after signing a waiver. So exploring the parallels between skateboarding and contemporary art, this skate bowl is designed to function as both a sculpture and a social space for skating, meeting, performances, and more. It's a really fantastic piece, and we just had folks utilizing it yesterday. Just proves all the different wonderful things you can find at Art Omai. Now, moving from sculpture into architecture, we've introduced new pavilions, and I'll show you here. One is a new favorite. This is Oberlin by Stephen Hall. This is located just near our other previous Stephen Hall construction on what we now call the Hall Hill. Oberlin is made from this robotically cut state-of-the-art cross-laminated timber and celebrates the scientific and psychological effects of both light and space. So with the sun entering its apertures on these specific dates and times. I say it's a favorite because every time I've gone out to this work over the last few weeks, at least one child has been in it. So I certainly hope that you all come to visit Art Omai at some point soon. These works and more are waiting for you every day of the year from dawn to dusk, and the slides simply cannot do them justice. That's just a little highlight of what we have going on that's new. But we do currently have 68 works on view, so there's plenty of favorites for you to come and explore again, all sprawled throughout the rolling fields and wooded forests. So there's always plenty to see. Thank you. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Thank you, Kelsey. That's amazing. And I love the fact that there are kids in that. Being a mum of a tiny monster child, it's great to have them be able to like run around and experience art as well. And so that's one of the great things about here Upstate Art Weekend and places like Art Omai as well, is that kids can really run around and experience the art and outdoors. So thank you so much. So now we are going to move on to Jayne. Jayne, can you tell us about Noel W. Anderson's exhibition, please?
Yes, I'm delighted to tell you about this show. We were supposed to open it back in March, and for obvious reasons we all know, we're postponing it. But I cannot be more proud to have this be the first show that opens the gallery after such a hiatus. So I'm going to start sharing my screen to tell you all a little bit about the gallery and about Noel's work. So the gallery is located in Garrison, New York, which is about an hour and 15 minutes north of the city. And it's right across the street from the Hudson River. It's on this very beautiful and strange compound of farm structures that once served as the living and working quarters for people who worked in service of a wealthy family who owned a mansion on the Hudson River. And the gallery is located in a former ice house. These are structures that you see throughout the Northeast. They're very tall. They're always built along a man-made pond or body of water. And back in the early 1900s, the pond would freeze over, and then you would basically store the ice in here, use it as a large refrigeration space. So we have two buildings here. This is the main exhibition space. And this stone cottage is sometimes a project space. Sometimes there aren't things on view, but it's a beautiful landscape here, with nature being a big part of the experience of visiting the gallery. And so talking a bit about Noel W. Anderson's work, he is an artist who's based in New York, originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and his whole practice is really focused on the identity of Black men in America as filtered through the lens of culture, the archetypes and stereotypes that we tend to place on Black men and on Black masculinity. And he has a really interesting practice, materially speaking. He works sometimes with textile-based works. This is actually a tapestry that's been woven. It's an image that he found that he then had woven into a tapestry, and then he would sort of pick it apart thread by thread. And what we are going to be showing in the gallery is a new body of work that hasn't been seen before by Noel. And they're works that are all on handmade paper. They're pieces that he made during a residency at Dieudonné in 2018 and 2019. And there's actually no ink at all on the surface of the works. They're just two different colors of paper pulp that he's essentially fused together with a silkscreen process. Most of the works in the show are on this kind of light blue colored handmade paper with a navy blue paper pulp to be printed with, that is forming the image. And in this case, this is a work where you have many different colors of paper that are used to make the image. So what appears, on the screen as a print is really all just made from paper. And it's cotton paper, and the material of cotton is something that comes into his work constantly, whether it's the textile-based pieces or these paper pieces. And there, obviously many connotations with slavery and the economies based around the cotton industry in the 19th century. Noel uses images that have appeared in magazines and newspapers and television, things that we see every day, and things that sort of start to desensitize us to the individuality of the people that are being depicted. And sometimes they're coming from the perspective of, law enforcement. This is an image probably from the 50s, but I mean, how evergreen does this feel? Some of the images are also based in hope. This is the hand of Martin Luther King. And this is Spud Webb, who, if there are any basketball aficionados out there, Spud Webb was one of the shortest NBA players of all time. And he really Spud Webb was the type of person who gave people hope. Like, if he can do it and he's 5'6", I could do it too. So his choice of imagery is often kind of speaking to a number of different things at one time. There's hope, there's hopefully looking at the past to see a different kind of future. What I find really interesting about Noel's work is that he is very much uniting a practice that is both very sociopolitically strong with formal elements that are sort of speaking to what's happening within the images. There's a real kind of synergy of both image and materiality and process that I find really just incredibly powerful. This is one of the woven pieces, but again, so you have this kind of like, the image and the object itself are one, become one. And then there's this always this kind of sense of degradation of the material, this kind of slip into abstraction. And that is basically being paralleled by the way that American media and culture treats Black people. The individuality of the person starts to become lost, and then they start to become stereotypes or archetypes. And I'm going to just give you a little sneak peek of the show, since we just got to install it, and it's the first show that we've installed in the gallery in 6 months, so I'm really thrilled. And you get to see a bit of the idiosyncratic space that we have going on, but this gives you a sense of the scale of the pieces too. And so we will be open from 12 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday during Upstate Art Weekend. We're open by appointment, and it's very easy to make an appointment. You can email me, text me. We have an appointment form. We're of course following all COVID safety regulations, but I'm so delighted to be welcoming people back to the gallery, and especially to be doing it on the inaugural Upstate Art Weekend.
Oh, thank you, Jayne. That's epic. Just seeing like the process and understanding more about his work. It's really amazing. I can't wait to see it. And yeah, I should say actually everybody involved is being COVID safe. Everybody has different but similar guidelines in terms of mask wearing and socially distance and RSVP. So if you check our website under program, you can see who needs where there are tickets or RSVP and different ways to gain access safely. So thank you for that, Jayne. And then on to Candice.
Hi. Thank you, Helen, for organizing this and getting us together today. I am the curator for River Valley Arts Collective, which is an organization that is serving artists of the Hudson Valley region. We will be opening an exhibition with Beacon-based artist Laura Kaufman on August 30th, so Sunday of Upstate Art Weekend. That is by reservation, so we'll have some timed tours. So there's more information on our website and on the Upstate Art website. The title of the show is Tension Bridge, and it is taking place at the Al Held Foundation in Boyceville, which is close to Woodstock. I am not there right now. I would love to be there and showing you the exhibition. However, it's on the side of a mountain in the foothills of the Catskills, and the Wi-Fi is a little spotty. So I'll have to share installation views for you, and hope everyone can come and experience it, because the landscape is very beautiful. So I'll tell you a little bit about the organization first, and then move on to some images. River Valley Arts Collective was founded in 2019 by Allison Baker. And I've been working with Allison since before that, well before that, I think early 2018, I started working with her, researching the cultural landscape upstate, which, as you can see from the program for Upstate Art Weekend, is very rich. And she actually had been working on it before that. So there was a lot of kind of early research. And then last year we started programming. So the mission of the organization is really to be a hub for artists of the Hudson Valley. We present exhibitions, we have workshops. We intend to host meals and gatherings again, which we had a few last year, and had a program set up for this year, and obviously a lot of that had to be adapted. The organization is interested in process. So ultimately we intend to have studios that are available to area artists. with equipment for working in wood, fiber, and clay, which are all sort of labor intensive, or I'm sorry, not equipment intensive processes. So we're hoping that we can have equipment that's available for artists in the region to use, and sort of a local residency program for work in the area. So in the interim, because we do not have a permanent home, we've been doing collaborations with area organizations and friends, and kind of exploring different parts of the Hudson Valley, which has been really, really interesting and informative for us and for our programming. So we had a show in Claverack last year at the studio of Nicole Cherubini and Patrick Purcell of Adam Henry. We had a show at Foreland with Steph Halmos, who's part of Upstate Art Weekend in Catskill. That was a large, ambitious group show with 16 artists. This spring, or late spring, we had we managed to mount an exhibition as soon as we were able to, with 4 artists at Thorn Willow in Newburgh. And now we are at the Al Held Foundation in Boyceville. So I'm gonna open up screen sharing. And this is a view of the Al Held Foundation. So he kept several studios here. He acquired this property in 1965. We are presenting our exhibition in the drawing studio, which is this room you can see with the sort of barn doors that are open right here. It's the first time that there has been a public program in this space, so we are very excited to be collaborating with them on this. Here is the interior of the space. So this is the first view that we have of Laura Kaufman's show. We were very interested in Laura's work because of the unusual ways that she was working with material. She's trained as a weaver, and so that vocabulary and those processes definitely are evident in a lot of the works, but she's also working with steel and creating these geometric armatures. Another interesting development that this exhibition highlights is the basket making components of the work. So a couple years ago, Laura came into contact with a basket maker in the Adirondacks that was using kind of traditional techniques. And she's been experimenting a lot with that and finding ways to incorporate it into her sculptural practice. Laura is also an educator at DIA, and I found that very interesting in the way that she's kind of integrating some conceptual ideas that have relationships to minimalism into these other processes that are very influenced by craft, and the kind of, I think particularly in this body of work, the sort of seamless ways that she's been able to bring these very different influences together. Start to scroll through images. This is a work called Bowed Frieze. And you can see here, a very strong weaving component. One thing I love about this is that kind of squiggle that runs through the middle is a piece of wisteria. So there are a lot of sort of foraged elements that make their way into the work that have a relationship to the local natural landscape as well. They also really have this fantastic, it's hard to see fully in the images, but all of the works really read like drawing in space. Someone commented while we were installing that there was a real choreography among the works and the way that they kind of move in the space. And so I think there's this very interesting kind of relationship to movement, and also a lot of this like line work create these really kind of fantastic drawings that you can move around and sort of, you can imagine how these lines are changing. The work on the far right in this image, I think might be my favorite in the show. It brings together just so many components of this new body of work that I find really interesting. The title of the work is The Upset, which is actually a a weaving term. It's the moment when the bottom of the basket needs to shift into being the side. So it's sort of this like transitional moment, and apparently, you know, there's a certain challenge in doing that right. But just that word, also the upset, was something that Laura was drawn to. There's a lot of double entendres in the titles, and there's sort of a very playful use of weaving's vocabulary in the titles of her work, and the way that she's incorporating those traditions is sort of unexpected, both in terms of process, but then, you know, the titles are very suggestive as well. She also is using these baskets not as containers, but as pedestals. And so in a lot of the work, you see that like function and use is sort of inverted. So oftentimes you would think that the steel would be the strong or the strongest component, or the strongest material to hold things up together. But in fact, in her work, it's often the weaving or the cotton or the thread or the willow that's being woven that is what is really holding the work together, and actually providing a lot of strength for the work. Scroll through. Here's another image of this work, the upset. And from above, you can see the thread here. This is cotton and ramie. And another view, this work is the rebound. I haven't spoken about the embroidered works, but you can see there's a few from an earlier series, a few works from her glyph series. And a lot of those forms, even though they're in very different material, they're painted and embroidered. You can see sort of these recurring lexicon that Laura has used both in the embroidered works, and it kind of appears in the steel armatures as well. Another great image of the way that she is weaving and using woven components in the work here. Another vantage point, in this case, the baskets have no bottoms. So again, sort of playing with functionality and like what that is in these pieces, and instead using them as a sort of pedestal. Another image there. I sort of love these wonky forms in these. And here's another vantage point. This piece is called Twill, and it's actually woven wool. There's a detailed view of that. And here's one of the glyph works. This is actually copper threading in this work. And this is really part of a much larger series that sort of originated with a very scientific language. A lot of the sculpture in this show is referencing weaving language, but Laura was really interested in these sort of scientific texts on nuclear research and CERN, and pulling this language from that and transcoded that into a series of forms that informed this body of work. So there's a number of different influences in these that aren't that I won't go into too deeply, but hopefully if you come and see the show, we can share more of that with you. And this is an overview of the show. We opened up for the exhibition, our colleagues at the Al Held Foundation actually opened up the windows which had been covered, which creates this really fantastic relationship with the landscape there, which is really incredibly beautiful. So that was something that was important to Laura, that the natural materials that are being used in the work sort of maintain this connection to the local landscape. And it's hard to see fully in the image, but it's very, very present in the space, because you arrive, you walk through the grounds a bit and enter the studio, and then there's all this fantastic sunlight and green that's visible on both ends of the studio. So it's a bit of an overview. I hope everyone can come and visit. We do require RSVP reservations. We're going to have some different times that are available after we've opened. The show is on view from August 30th through October 18th. So we'll be doing some, guided tours throughout the exhibition. So I encourage everyone to email me, or you can message us on Instagram, and we can share more information. And hope to see everybody soon. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Candice. I can't stop thinking about the upsetting and about like how relevant that is for this moment in time, right? It's kind of,
Laura was working on these during the show. The exhibition ended up getting delayed, and the body of work actually changed. It was really interesting to watch the body of work evolve, because she was working on these while in lockdown, like in her, she's this like superwoman working on these pieces like in her kitchen, these large scale works, because she didn't have easy access to the studio. And so there is definitely a lot, it's subtle, but there is a lot of references to what's like happening in the world right now, and an interest in that sort of embedded in the pieces. So, yeah.
But I also think that's great, because, I want people to be able to understand the richness and the depth of work that is being shown up here, and not just necessarily in large cities, like, from Noel's to Howardina's to Laura's, and there's such a vastness and a depth, and it's not, we're not all painting watercolors up here. So it's like, it's good that you can come up and see some great work. And I should also just quickly plug Stoneleaf, because we're going to have an exhibition here as well with our Stoneleaf alumni. We're going to have an exhibition of Keisha Scarville's passport works here. We have an audio piece by Sonia Louise Davis, which was commissioned by the Laundromat Project during COVID, which is really hauntingly beautiful. And then behind me is a piece by Rebecca Reeve, so this is an installation, and we have additions. So that's our plug. We're having an opening reception, and I hope everybody can join us too. But talking of Upstate, I wanted to ask you all, I know you're probably all going to be tied to your spaces during that weekend, but what other things up here, specifically during Upstate Art Weekend, or other organizations are you excited to visit or see either that weekend or after?
Well, I will just give a shout out to a neighbor, literally a half mile down the road, is Manitoga, the Russell Wright Design Center. And crazily, I've actually never been inside the house for a tour. Partly because you cannot bring children. Everyone knows that my gallery manager, my daughter B, who's almost 3, sadly cannot come with us. But we hike the trails all the time. It's an incredible building and site. And Russell Wright just had this immaculate vision for the existence of architecture and nature. And I probably won't get there on Upstate Art Weekend, but I hope that I can get there sometime soon.
Yeah, and I should also say that, Jayne, that there's an epic audio piece there, because when you hike the trails, it's beautiful. It's by a British composer, and I went there to meet with the director, and I felt somewhat embarrassed because I was stood in the middle of the forest just bawling, because it's just so beautiful. Obviously I'm a little bit emotional, but it was really, it's just beautiful. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Kelsey, what are you excited about?
Well, after this presentation, I'm definitely excited to see these 2 fantastic organizations. Those presentations were really fantastic. I mean, with my location at Artomai, and I believe I will personally be here that weekend, I'm always interested in outdoor work. I'm personally interested in checking out Storm King a little later in the season. They always have just such an expanse, but also thinking about my location here at Artomai, and since I'll be here, I'm personally interested in visiting some really local spots. I'm visiting Olana, hopefully. I haven't been since before these times. And also September Gallery. I know that they have Ashley Garrett right now, and I believe that actually ends on the 30th, so that would be really fantastic to see as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and also local to you and new to me, because one of our alumni, Alison McNulty, has a public sculpture installation at PS 21, which is in Ghent near you as well. So if you have a chance to look at that, that would be pretty epic too. Candice, my friend, what are you excited about?
Well, I'm excited to come see you and Beverly's pop up there. I'm curious what that's going to look like.
So am I. It's going to be epic, whatever happens.
Fun. And I, some friends, I'm in High Falls, and, we have some friends down the road that opened Starlight Motel. And every time I drive through Kerhonkson, I'm sort of peering and looking at these renovations that are happening. And I know that they have a lot of artwork by friends on view. And so I'm very intrigued to see it. I haven't been yet, but I've been watching this like lovingly restoration happen over the course of a few weeks. So that'll be exciting to see that they're opened up.
They're like on fire. Like every time like I see something, they're doing more and more. They just, Hope has a huge mural by the swimming pool, and Liz Collins is doing some flags, and Rico Gatson, and I'm just like, every time they're like, and we're doing this, I'm like, guys, you're incredible. I'm like, so much.
It looks really, from the what I can see from the passing by, it looks beautiful. And I already went, so I won't go that weekend, but I recommend other people go see Alexander Gray's new gallery, which is really, really beautiful in Germantown. Also presenting an artist, a Hudson-based artist, and now Hudson-based artist, Jenny C. Jones. And it's a beautiful installation, and he has some paintings by Betty Parsons in the office, which are fantastic. A number of things in the viewing room. So I highly recommend that as well.
Yeah, we just went when they opened, and I'd been to their space before in Germantown, but they have another space that just opened at Alder & Co. And it's like one big white box in this old barn with one painting by Jenny, and it's just like so beautiful. Harry, just like my son, just like ran up and was just like, thought it was the best thing he's ever seen. So I was like, ooh, that's how you get kids into art, just like a white box, focus on one thing. But this has been like incredible. I feel like I could hang out all day. It needs to be like Upstate Art, like week, month, because there's so much. So I'm just really hoping that this kicks off people's interest and excitement, and to continually come and support the arts up here in the organizations. And I'm already thinking about next year, because I'm a crazy person, and about how much bigger it's going to be. And but I'm just so grateful to everybody to being open and working together. So I'm just really, really happy. And I just want to do a quick shout out in case there's any last minute questions, or if anybody wants to say anything. Yeah, go.
I want to point out to people something that you put together, which is the local recommendations on your Instagram, which is really fantastic. I mean, I've been living in High Falls, and I'm discovering all of these new places. So maybe you want to explain what that is, but I just want people to know that that's out there, because it's a great resource if you're coming to visit for the weekend. Oh,
good. I'm glad you like that. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, kind of coming up here and staying in our little nooks. And so I thought, where's better to find out where to go and eat nearby than the people who are there all the time? So we've been doing these local favorites that you can see on our Instagram at Upstate Art Weekend. And it's just getting these great windows into local hotspots to try. So I'm glad that you said that, Candice. That's really, really great. Anyone else? Any other questions? No? All right. Heather, Nada, thank you for providing us with this platform for all the
inviting us to be part of it. We're really excited. Yeah, now I'm even more excited to get up there.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm actually staying for a week, because I know I can't do it all in 2 days. So I'll be around.
Okay, perfect. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody comes and joins us Upstate Art Weekend, August 29th to 30th. More information on our website and Instagram. All right, take care.